Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast. Once again, I have a very special Christmas edition today. I have with me, joining me, John Blasucci. Some of you may know John from his 20 plus years as keyboardist and musical director of the Dennis DeYoung Band, or perhaps his 7 or 8 years with Mannheim Steamroller. That's you don't get more Christmas than Mannheim Steamroller, right? Over the years, John has worked with iconic artists like Celine Dion, Richard Marx, Michael Bolton, Josh Groban, and Sync. It goes on and on. John is also the creator of something called Luminare Christmas, and that's what we're going to talk about mainly today. It's a symphonic pop rock Christmas concert experience. That's how it's billed. We're going to talk about that description as well. John and Luminare Christmas have just released an album called Mistletoe Madness, and they are currently on a tour that goes until December 21st. John, it's great to have you.
Good to see you, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Luminary. We can't get enough Christmas, right? It's such a great thing to have Christmas music at this time of year. We're early in December. For those not aware, I just love it. I love Christmas music. I love the positivity of it, and we need that in our world for sure. Tell me, what prompted you to put Luminar Christmas together? Have you always had a love for Christmas music or the season, or you're a busy guy. All this work you have, you wake up one morning and say, I want to jump into that realm. How did that? What was the cat? Was there a catalyst for that?
Well, actually, yeah, there absolutely was. We have to go back to when I started with Mannheim Steamroller. I didn't know too much about the group. It's a funny story because I got my buddy in the band before I was in the band through connections. The music business. We're all connected and
Yep.
referrals and everything. And then he got me in the band, and they called and said, "Hey, would you come out with us?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I knew some of the music, but my family wasn't the kind of family that you hear about that listens to Mannheim Steamroller as the tree is being trimmed and all of that.
Right.
My father had a band, and his drummer worked for Warner Brothers. We're going back to the 70s and 80s,
Okay.
and what that did. So Nick Massey was A&R guy, distribution something, and what that allowed us was to get advanced copies of the Eagles. You name it. Everyone on the huge Warner Brothers catalog at the time. So we weren't fixed into one thing. We were listening to, the bands, Chicago horn bands, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Sergio Mendes. I mean, it's so varied. It's insane. To Frank Sinatra with Quincy Jones's arrangements, and it really Al Jarreau is another one of my absolute favorites. I just love that that
Mm.
that good sounding production, and
Cool.
so I went way back. So we weren't the family that just listened to one album at Christmas time. So when I joined Mannheim Steamroller, I didn't really, I knew the big hits, had to learn it all. Went on the road. Wow, this is great. This is fun. We're playing here. We're meeting all these people. We're bringing happiness and lifting the vibration of people through this music. And I thought, how awesome is this? Um, Let me just back up to when I was in my 20s. I did make a Blasucci family Christmas album, yes.
Nice.
And my sister Catherine is actually a beautiful, beautiful voice. And I had my three other sisters sing background vocals, and we did Winter Wonderland and Christmas Time's Here and Do You Hear What I Hear in the style of Whitney Houston, because that's what was going on at the time.
Right.
Okay, so then the Mannheim thing happens. Christmas morning, I am in Utah. We have no gig on Christmas, and I said I don't want to sit in a hotel room on Christmas morning. That just seems like it could get a little depressing,
Yeah.
alone. Everyone's doing their own thing. So I found a place to volunteer to help out, set up tables, and feed homeless and take care of things. And it just so happened that my wife volunteered at the very same place. We met. I talked to her. I got the courage to talk to her. She's beautiful and way out of my league. But I said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Mannheim Steamroller? Because I'm the keyboardist in the band and I would like to invite you to the show. And she said, Mannheim who? You know, she's a little younger. Anyway,
So,
so
so this is on Christmas.
Christmas morning, about we met at 5:30 a.m. at a blizzard. It was dark. It was weird. Stars were aligned. Anyway, so she
Wow, that
came
is
out to the show, and I invited her to dinner after. It was closing night, so everyone was in a good mood, and we were staying in downtown Salt Lake. Had dinner. Knew that night she was the one. That was it. And then I moved out to Utah, and we had our baby Scarlett, and I didn't want to be on the road for 7, 8 weeks and leave my wife home with our new baby by herself. I didn't want to miss a day of Scarlett growing up. So, long story short, it's a little late for, but I resigned. I tendered my resignation with Mannheim in 2018. 2019, I saw all my friends going out, and I said, I still want to do this. It's kind of in my bones now.
right.
So let me arrange some music. What would I do? I put myself in the audience. What would I want to hear if I was sitting at a concert? And I'm like, definitely symphonic rock, definitely pop elements, definitely vocals, violins, gotta have guitar. It's gotta be powerful. I sat down and started writing, and then I went to our who is our production manager now, Dave Bradley, and I said, Dave, can you listen to this for a second? Let me know what you think. Do we have something here? And we were out on the road with Dennis DeYoung at the time, and I went in his office and he said, "Go away, I'm busy now. I'll come back another time." And I said, "Okay." Um, but I sat down. I brought a Bluetooth speaker, and I said, "Dave, sit, listen. Do you want to do this with me?" And we could sort of tell that we had something here with this music and these arrangements. And we had some original music, and we had arrangements and derangements of traditional classic Christmas songs.
Yeah.
So
Oh man,
yeah.
that's awesome. Now, did coming from Mannheim, and of course we have Trans-Siberian there, kind of the standards in that realm. Did you have any reservation of jumping into that world as kind of like you're from Mannheim,
Mm.
you know, I'm gonna leave and do something better, or was there would somebody take that the wrong way? Was there any reservation as to getting into their worlds, quote unquote?
Well, it's great. That's a great question. We always describe it as if you took Mannheim Steamroller and Trans-Siberian Orchestra, threw them in the closet, and a baby came out, that would be us. Um,
Great.
and I love to say, and it's just kind of in fun, we're not your grandmother's Christmas concert.
Right.
Um, it's for me. I tried to take the best of all worlds, come up with something new. So Mannheim meets TSO meets film score Hans Zimmer. There's a very scorey element to it, and the concert itself is a little more of a theatrical production than a just a straight up concert.
Yeah.
It's based around lighting and things smoking, and there's a little story that kind of ties some things in, and it's a nice experience. I made it 100 minutes long because when I go to a concert, man, I went to see Imagine Dragons, and I thought, wow, I thought TSO had it going on with the production. This thing was
Yeah.
unbelievable, but it was like 2 hours 45 minutes,
Wow.
and we got babysitter at the house, and I'm getting tired, and it started raining. So 100 minutes is very, very. It's an experience. You get in, you enjoy it. It's not overwhelming,
Yeah.
timing wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow,
yeah.
that's a long show, man. 3 hours or something.
Oh yeah, it was
Uh,
brutal. It was great, but brutal too.
yeah, wow. Yeah, definitely for the 20 somethings.
For sure.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
younger. Now the press release I notice is calling this a debut for the band, Mistletoe
Mm-hmm.
Madness. Uh, I know that you had that star in 2020. Enjoy that record. Um,
Thank you.
Clarify that for me. Is this, did you want to start fresh and new? 2020 was a rough year. It did, that star didn't have a chance because of everything that was going on, for promotion and things like that, and the
Mhm.
show that you wanted to do, possibly everything got put on hold. So is this a
Mhm.
fresh start for you? Is that why we're calling it a debut? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, there's a whole management side of things that we're debuting an album. We're not debuting the band. And
Okay.
yes, that record, that star, was made during the pandemic. And you know, I tell people, you said it earlier. I was on the road with Dennis for 20 years. I was with Mannheim. I was with a group in Chicago of hotshot musicians, touring musicians that when we were in town, we played. Um, and with the pandemic, that all went away. All my live performance, and I've always had a second life as a musician, as a producer in a studio,
Right.
arranger, writer, and whatnot. And it gave me the time to create that album to really see if I had anything. Because if, as an artist, you have to feel the music. If you're not feeling it, you can't expect anyone else to be honest.
Mhm.
And we're pretty tough critics. If you've ever been to a movie with a musician or a concert with a musician, they're like, yeah, the sound's a little, oh yeah, they paste that weird. It's like, it's obnoxious, right? But that's because we have that built in, and so anyway, that was thrown towards this album, and the fact that I had the opportunity to be off the road allowed for that album to happen. Very special album to me. I listened to it
Good.
the other week, and I hadn't heard it probably in 2 years. I hear bits, and so I sat down and I listened to the album, and I was like, yes, that's what I wanted to say, and I hope people enjoy it, and I think they really do. So this album, Mistletoe Madness, is kind of taking it to the next step. Now we're performing live. What do I think, and what would I want to hear live? And so this record it's a little more going for the jugular. I've got an unbelievable violinist who tears it up, tears it up. Singers are incredible. Guitarist is shredding, but also incredibly musical. Let me sum it up. I wanted to have all the elements of a good show: vocals, instrumentals, power, moments of meaningful tenderness where people, really feel the spirit, and just supplement it with lighting and video, and really deliver an experience.
That sounds awesome. It just, and that's, I love that about Christmas too, because I
Mhm.
feel all of those things, and they're all happy things to me, and it's great. It's a great time of year. This is great music to have. I want to touch on one thing, one Christmas wish,
Mhm.
from the last record, that star, Madeline Page, a fun campy pop song. I know you intended to write one of those. You really wanted one of those on the record. I don't really get that vibe with anything on this record. Was that
Mm.
intentional to leave that pop vibe? Once was enough kind of thing. This is like you say, a little more serious record. It's a little different vibe. It takes it to a
Yes.
level. That was all intentional then.
Yeah, there's a different level of intensity, and to be honest, I I was filling out the show of what the show should have. Now, One Christmas Wish is very intriguing because I love the music of the young generation. Ariana Grande, I love her Christmas song. The Kelly Clarkson song. These are great songs, and they're becoming classics.
Yep.
Um, One Christmas Wish was me doing that, and I hear it on the radio, and I say, or not the I hear it on Alexa. It comes on, and
Right.
I'm like, this song confuses people because it is Luminare Christmas, but it's its own thing. Dave and I call it's our Mr. Roboto. You know, people
That's
don't know,
very
they
good.
don't know what to make of it, but it's catchy, and Joey Scott is a lyricist in Nashville who wrote for Shania Twain and Sean Coleman. I went to her with the chorus. One Christmas wish, Santa, can you make love happen? Hurry up, you know I've been waiting. And it's cutesy, and Madeline delivered the song absolutely beautifully. Um, and We did a radio interview in Green Bay, and the DJ was a live DJ thing, and he said, "I want to play that song on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day because that song sticks out to me." So I think it speaks to some, and I I kind of it's our daughter's favorite song. But yes, I will go back there at some point because just a little, just like a real quick history. I was involved in the smooth jazz community for a while as a writer and a producer, and again, from that very background that my parents brought us up in with different styles, I'm kind of all over the map. So I'm having to be really disciplined with Luminare Christmas as a symphonic rock. I can't be too all over the map. You
Right.
get it. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's this. You'll find everything back there.
Ah.
There's nothing that doesn't live here. So I get it, for sure. You have your core thing of what you really, is in your soul and what you really love. Uh, but there's all these little things, tentacles that come out. And, as a musician, when you're trying to focus things, that's got to be difficult. So I totally get that. Um, I want to talk about a song on the album that's getting great response from what I hear of your version of "Oh Holy Night." Now,
Mm.
"Oh Holy Night" is probably my all-time favorite. I love Christmas music. I like all the traditionals. I like all the Mariah Careys and things like that. Like we were talking about, I love those too. But "Oh Holy Night," it's just you know. Uh, yeah, is fall to your knees is it speaks to me. And it's heavy in a way that it's emotional. For me, it's a personal thing, obviously, but this song really does it for me, and not every version does. But this one that you have on here really, really does. And all those specific lines are hit hard when they're supposed to be hit hard. They're gentle and soft when they're supposed to be gentle and soft. It's perfectly done. And that's a hard song to sing, and it's a hard song to arrange. And I know that. Um, who is the wonderful female voice that we hear on Oh Holy Night?
So that is a friend of ours from Utah named Haley, who is uh, she does sessions for me. We perform in a band together out in Utah, where I'm a drummer. It's a
Awesome.
whole other thing. It's so much fun. Uh, she's terrific, and our girl Caitlin, who sings it live. We When we perform live, we have two microphones at the front of the stage that capture the audience sounds and everything, and because everyone's on in-ear monitors. It's no longer monitors on the stage, and we're pretty closed in. So those microphones let us hear what the audience is doing and cheering, so we feel connected.
That's great.
And we were talking the other week, the last time we performed it, people were gasping over Caitlin's vocal. Oh, and there's nothing more satisfying than, okay, we did what we were supposed to do. We gave the experience. We helped people feel what we intended for them to feel. And then it comes right back to us, and it completes this beautiful circle of like higher vibrational moments in the room for us all to experience. Like you said, at Christmas, everyone's already a little ready.
Yep.
Their hearts are softer and more open, and so Haley is amazing, and Caitlin live is also amazing, and it's nice. And again, I arranged that to have the soft, profound. I don't know what the word is. I feel the same way about the song you do.
Yeah,
But to be able to honor that piece of music starts out that way, but then it has to kick in and get rocking and powerful because it's Luminar Christmas.
yep.
And that's what we do. and then it winds up, and there's the climax where she hits the high note, and then we fall down, and then it's like, then it ends, and everyone sighs and takes a deep breath, and then right after that, we go into our version of Vivaldi's Winter, which is a fierce tour de force violin piece.
It's
Yeah.
just
So we're taking the audience up and down. It's a ride, you know.
That's great, and I love a good ride like that in the peaks and valleys, and I love that from a record, especially from a live show. Really, really cool. Now, writing originals, you have your traditionals here, "Oh Holy Night," "Carol of the Bells," and like you said, "Winter" there, but there's a few originals. Now, writing
Mm-hmm.
a Christmas song. Um, what makes what makes a song Christmassy? Uh, I hear the songs and I get a vibe. There's a Christmas vibe to it. Um, so as a musician, there's certain things I would imagine. Talk to me about the writing process. Bells and chimes and percussion, maybe acoustic guitar, render Christmas feelings, higher major key stuff in on the keys, the twinkly stuff. But you don't want to be cheesy with it either. So is it difficult as a musician when you're writing Christmas music? How do you make it Christmas without getting too much cheese, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely getting the vibe?
Well, I'm just in my head. I'm getting a cooking analogy. Do you cook, Scott?
A little bit,
Do you,
yeah.
yeah. So we love to cook, and I Italian, grew up. My parents are good cooks, and we learned. And then my dad says, if you can read, you can cook, because you can read a recipe,
Right.
and then you take it next level by how much spice do you, how much garlic do you like? What about the what about the sautéing of the ingredients together, and how much extra? I think it's the same in the production. You can overdo, you can over salt, you can
Right.
over pepper, um, or you can have just enough to bring out the flavor. And with music, every everyone loves ear candy, but you can overdo it. So I guess my philosophy, have some of the elements when they make sense. I think the opening song on that album, "The Light That Shines," is not as Christmas elements as you would think. And that was on purpose. That was to open the show. And it's a song about coming together. Um, with light and joy, we celebrate the season that we all await, with love and kindness that we'll embrace. The light that shines in every place is the chorus. And I
It's beautiful, man.
and the whole point is to bring. Okay, here we are. We're starting the show. It's got this long, fun little teasy intro, and then bam, we hit it, and all the lights go up, and then there's the verse, and then it hits in that chorus. And the whole point of that song is like, hey, we're coming together, all of us, right now. We're gonna have an experience tonight, and we're starting it out with this song that's almost like a Coldplay, U2. It's got a little influence from AC/DC. It's
Mhm.
we're starting a show. We're gonna come out swinging, and I love watching concerts where, boom, they hit it right off the top, and it's like, wow, we are instantly in this concert experience. It's
Yeah,
kind of fun,
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. I love that song, and is it difficult to write Christmas music? If you're just writing a song for a record, you don't have rules necessarily. Not that you would with a Christmas song, but you kind of a little bit you do. If you're going for a
Mm-hmm.
Christmas vibe, you at least lyrically. Um, so is it harder or is it easier to all right, I have this box that I'm working within. I can't
Mm-hmm.
step out, and maybe that's easier. For you, is it easier or harder to write a Christmas song?
I think you nailed it. You kind of implied this. It's easier in some ways, and it's trickier in some ways.
Yeah,
There's a different level. There's no pressure. You sit down and write, and if it's working, you continue writing it. My process, this is what I used to do a lot. I haven't done this in a while. So the Mistletoe Madness album was written probably a year and a half ago. It's been in the can, as we say. It's been ready to go. We didn't know when to release it, and then Frontiers Records came along and said, "Hey, we want you guys. We want a Christmas thing, and you guys are perfect for us. Let's do it." So we're like, "Okay, this is the time. This is why we've been waiting for a moment like this." And Frontiers is based in Milan, and they're classic rock. I'm sure you know all about them. Yeah.
For sure.
But my process used to be I would sit down and write. I'd have an idea in my head. I'd sit down and write it. And then I would go for a jog, a run, and we're in the mountains in Utah. And so the views and just the path is on a cliff, and you look down and you see the valley, and you look up and you see mountains, and this thing over here, and the road just telling you this highway. And I just would get inspired, and it would come to me, and I'd go over it like melodies, this, that. And then I'd have to rush home to go in my studio and put it down before I forgot it, kind of thing. So, and then that would repeat. Like, what do I want the drums to do? Okay, I want them to do halftime here, and then I want to double it up. It's got to get exciting, and now we're in the section, so let's make it a tom tom thing. All the musical experiences of being a kid listening to those records my dad brought home through playing with Dennis DeYoung, the master. Come on, the guy can write a song. To what Chip Davis did, which
Yeah.
I how can you not respect what he's accomplished? But just
Right.
being steeped in all of these musical experiences, and then my own little take on things, and then I put it down, and then I bring in musicians, and we have a go of it. We experiment with different things. This next record that's already being worked on, I'm bringing everyone in the studio. I'm putting my foot down. I want everyone in the studio because that's a different energy. That's a different, like, brilliant things happen when you've got incredible musicians in one room. And again, Scott, I don't think anyone would do this if it wasn't fun. It is fun.
Right.
So that's the kind of like why we do anything, okay, well, in music, because it's fun. And then if we can make something happen beautiful out of it, then even better.
Right. Yeah. And it's great. And I'm so glad that you recognize that all in the same room live vibe. When you're looking somebody in the eye and you have musicians of that caliber, it's a
Mm-hmm.
whole different thing than, playing in a box in your office, recording it and sending it in an email. That's
That's
I
true.
mean, the great ones do it and it works. I mean, almost, probably more than half of what we hear is done like that now. Uh,
90%, or
yeah,
if not more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a certain magic, intensity, urgency that happens when everybody's in a room together, looking each other in the eye. There's a certain lightning in a bottle thing that happens, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad that you recognize that, and we'll get to hear that.
Well, part of that, Scott, part of that battle is trusting the musicians, and like, do
Sure.
I want this person's opinion? I always say, when I put this band together, I want it to be the least talented, stupidest, dumbest, ugliest, least funny, MFer in the band. And sometimes I feel I've achieved that, You're like, oh, careful what you wish for. But this band that I have is ridiculous. I mean, it's the level of talent is so high. So being in a studio with these people, and it's funny because what goes with that level of talent and scrutiny and like detail is people aren't afraid to speak their mind. So if I throw out, say, hey, let's try this thing, we'll try it, and someone will say, yeah, but let's do this to it. Like, oh, yes. And then that interplay, I think, is where the magic can happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And that's just so great. I'm so looking forward to that. You mentioned the influence of Mannheim and Chip and Dennis, working with him for so long. There's I hear like that star, especially has a
Mhm.
Styx vibe to it for me. And Mannheim's, all over, the Christmas stuff, what they do. Um, is that is that natural, or do you say, at parts, hey, Mannheim did it this way, and I love the way that sounds, so let's do it that way. Or, it's Dennis does this in his choruses, doubles vocals, or, uh, I want to do that here and get that sound. Or is it just, working with these guys for so long? Does it just, is it an organic thing that comes out and then you listen to it and say, hey, wait, that's, that was in my heart and soul. How's that work for you when you write?
Well, you just said it. It's in the heart and soul, and it's osmosis. It's just our ears are very fascinating things. Though, I used to fall asleep with headphones on. I grew up in the '80s and the late '70s, and I there was no competition with video games and this and that. It was music, and I was able to be in the practice room for a while and not have a short attention span that we've all developed from this.
Yep.
Um, it's just kind of what happened. I mean, YouTube is brilliant because you can learn how to do these insane. You hear these kids playing guitar, like what planet did you come from?
Right.
But but so I would fall asleep with headphones on just because I loved it. I didn't want to stop, and I would fall asleep as a kid.
Right.
And I really believe that that has a lot to do with it. Maybe the subconscious,
Yeah.
maybe your your conscious mind is shut off, your subconscious is still hearing everything, and maybe it gets in. But just being in concert for decades, for music school, through everything, I think it just happens to you. It just you develop out of that more so than saying, the stuff you're saying about, oh, well, we'll do a double vocal on the chorus. These are techniques that we use to lift the music in certain places when it needs to be lifted. This is recording studio stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as, am I going to sit down and write a Mannheim like song? Can't I haven't found that to be a really good plan because it's not as genuine as you would want it to be.
Right.
Now, I wrote Mistletoe Madness, and it's a harder rocker one. It's a lot of fun, but
Totally.
it combines, it's got Celeste in it, which is that how you say that? Celeste, however you like to say it. And it's a very playful, childlike, Christmassy song juxtaposed against these guitars and basses in unison doing these lines with fiddle, with violin, sometimes doing the pizzicato string thing. So it's very playful. It's a lot of different styles coming together, and it's interesting. And I guess you could say that that is like more of a TSO influenced sound rather than a Mannheim influenced sound.
Right. Right.
But the point I'd like to make is that once you sit down and start writing, no matter what your inspiration, it's going to come out sounding like you, regardless.
Right.
And it should. There's already a Mannheim Steamroller,
Right. Right.
you know.
What we want.
So
We
yeah,
want a piece of you. Yeah, your heart and soul. For
yeah.
sure. Yeah, and it's great to get that for sure. Now, I'd be remiss not to ask about Dennis. It's been a
Mm.
while. Haven't seen or heard from him. And is that gig over for you? Will we see you on stage with the Dennis DeYoung Band again?
Me personally with Dennis, or Dennis in
Uh,
general going out.
well, you personally, would, if he gets back out there, is that something you'd like to continue to do?
I'm always open to it. We uh, some of us have been with Dennis for so long. There's a thing about seeing it through to the end. Whenever he says this is my last gig, Dennis is a friend. He's a mentor. He was like a second father to me. If he called me and asked me to play I I probably would. You know, life has taken me in so many other directions. I'm a professor, very very part time at BYU, which is a wonderful music school, and I'm never thought I would find so much uh, happiness and fulfillment doing that for a few hours in a week. You know, I'm off to during the year. I travel with another band where I'm a drummer. I think I said that,
Yeah.
and I started as a drummer, and it's been 30 plus years. And my buddy called and he said, "Will you drum in my band?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll nail it for you." And then I sat down to practice, and I was like, "Clear my schedule." Took like three weeks of hours a day. Anyway, so, but it's fun. You know, I'm at the point in life where I
Great.
really, really want to enjoy.
Yeah.
Uh,
You've worked
so
hard to get these gigs and to learn your craft. So yeah, have fun doing it for sure.
but with Dennis, it's that thing. Like if a good friend calls you and says, "I need you," good. If he called and said, I'm gonna do something else, it would be. In some ways, it would be like, okay. Uh, in other ways, it would be like, now I don't have the pressure of having to devote all of that back to that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He hasn't called and said, he's done though.
there's always chatter behind the scenes of, well, maybe, and if this happens, then we'll do that. And I hear bits and pieces,
Okay.
but no, nothing definitive at all.
Yeah, and Dennis is a pretty definitive guy. And when
Mm,
he's done, he's going to tell you he's done. I have that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's good to hear. Because we love his voice and that band was great.
He's
So
he's yeah, he's the best. And yeah, you mentioned August and Jimmy and Craig and
right,
Mike on drums.
yep,
We were we were a unit that went out and did what we had to do under Dennis's leadership.
yeah,
Which, by the way, if I were to consider myself a protege or whatever you want to say of Dennis, he's he's the guy. He's on every level. And we had 20 years of being at airports together because I was in Chicago,
right,
chatting, hearing what he has to say. I brought this project to him initially, and he was way behind it. He loved it, and he was passionate about his opinions on what I should do and what I was doing. Don't do that. Do this.
right.
Why would you do that? And he brings passion everywhere he goes, and I really loved and I'm grateful to have had that time with him and the band and the boys.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been grateful to see the band, dozens of times. It was just a great band, and it seemed to get better to me too. The first time I saw the band, I thought, okay, it's not Styx,
Mm-hmm.
but it's Dennis, and these guys are good players, and harmonies were okay, but then slowly those 4 shows later, I saw you guys very early on, and
Mm-hmm.
everything just started clicking. And then these recent years, and then the past, uh you know 10, 15, wow, just really, it was great to see the band grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great. So I hope we can get at least one more show out of you guys. That would be a lot
You
of fun.
know, it would be a ton of fun,
Yeah,
and go out with a bang, and honor him and his music and his
yeah,
musicianship. And I mean, as a keyboard player, his keyboard playing turns all on musically. So yeah, just to honor that, I think would be reason enough to do it.
yeah,
If we're in that situation.
yeah. Very cool, very cool.
Yeah,
Okay, the tour. You got till December 21st. You got like 5 more dates left, I think.
that
Uh,
sounds right.
How many people you got on the stage? Are you doing songs from both albums? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've got 7 people on stage. We've got bass, guitar, drums, violin, 2 vocalists, 7.
Okay.
We have our own crew, lighting guy, monitor guy, video guy, front of house guy. I said lighting, right? So we travel with a pretty big entourage. Uh, we travel with our own production, which is kind of fun, you know. And that wasn't
Yeah.
my idea. That's Dave Radley. He's like, no, we're getting a semi, and we're gonna load it up. And he said, you play piano, I'm gonna make this thing look good, and he really does. Um, so yeah, and I just happened to be going down the set list, and I looked at it. It's a third of the concert is, and not all at once, but a third of it is instrumental. A third is our male singer, Jeff Anthony, who's got quite a voice. And a third of it is Caitlin Simone, our gal singer, who also is just killing it. She's doing, I heard her backstage doing an operatic thing on Carol of the Bells. And when we hit it, when the band hits on that climax, it goes like bananas. And I heard her singing in the back, and I said, "Get her a microphone. Let's hear that." And everyone had goosebumps. She's doing operatic stuff. It's incredible.
So cool.
Yeah, both albums, songs from both albums. So it's a. I tried to make it very balanced. There's definitely a lot for everybody. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Uh,
That's
It's awesome. It's awesome. We're so looking
yeah.
forward to it, man.
Thank you.
Let's leave with a personal Christmas memory. Do you have something, growing up or anything? What was, is there something that, really one particular thing or something, traditions that you have around Christmas time?
Yeah, and everybody is funny. Everybody has theirs. We would go to my grandparents, open presents. Of course, that's always magical. As a kid,
Oh,
it's so for when you're a kid. Well, it's different when you're a kid. Um, Man, it was magical for me personally. I felt it, and I don't think there's any specific thing. The snow, we had that big blizzard in Chicago that one time.
79, probably. I remember that one.
And this mayor was too. Do
Yeah,
you?
yep, yep. Crazy,
Started
man.
with a B. Yeah. So aging, totally aging ourselves here. I think it was Mayor Balandic, if that's how you even say that, or something. Um, yeah, caught up in the season, in the family, in the food, and the everyone in a good mood. I think that's what it is. Everyone in the spirit kind of lifts everyone, and you're carried through that.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm experiencing it through our 7-year-old
I was gonna
child.
say, my kids are grown now. They're in their 24 and 27. So, uh, it's not quite the same as when they were 7. But you experience that as a kid. The coming down and opening presents on Christmas morning, and
Mm-hmm.
the love of a family, which I was fortunate enough to have. Uh,
Yes, yes.
but as a father, you relive that kid thing. You grow out of doing the kid thing as yourself, and then but when you have kids, you see it again. You see the magic that filled your life up as a kid, and you relive it through your own. So it's a blessing. It
Well,
really.
Scott, funny you brought that up. One of our songs, our original Christmas songs, um, is another song I wrote with Joey Scott. She's a she, by the way. Whenever I say that, people go, "Oh, who's he? I've never heard of him." Um, I said, Joey, I want us to write a song, and I always bring her the chord changes in the song and a rough melody, and then we work together on the lyrics. Actually, my friend Larry King, who's a phenomenal singer and one of my musical buddies throughout our lives, he wrote that as well. And the opening line is, I had a dream it was Christmas morning. I was young and free, knowing what was waiting, believing Santa granted my every wish. And it goes on. And Joey is brilliant. And Larry is great at placing phrases and being interesting about it. And so that's a song we do acoustically, and it's a nice moment in the show. And Caitlin is, perfect on it too, our
Yeah,
singer.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a like a child.
yeah. So you'll hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's just so cool. LuminareChristmas.com. There'll be links in the description. Uh, John, I'm going to see you at the Arcada in St. Charles on the 14th. Looking so forward to hearing it, photographing it. Just this has been great, and thank you for putting this music into the world and positivity. We really need that now. We always need that, but especially right now. So yeah, it's a blessing to have you, man. So appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and I'm gonna see you soon. Sounds great. Sounds great to say that. Very cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks.
you, Scott. Thank you, and I'm very much looking forward to hanging out as well and seeing you at you come to the Arcada,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Good.
So very
It's
cool.
gonna be
And
fun.
there'll be dates on the website for those that can get there for these last few shows. Uh, get out and see the band and get listening to that record. It's a great one. John, I appreciate your time. I will see you soon, my friend.
Take care, Scott. See you
All
soon.
right, you too.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.